This section will provide a brief overview of the checklist itself for anyone who's new to it or needs a little bit of a refresher. The checklist was designed to be a provincial standardized form for Part 3 step code submissions. It's been around for a while. The previous version, 2.3, was released in September of 2020. The goals of the checklist are to provide consistency and clarity across submissions. So this means when different practitioners provide information or when different jurisdictions are requesting information, it can at least be in a standardized format. The checklist is designed to provide a brief overview of key energy model inputs and results, and it's in a simple Excel format for easy use. We want to share a couple of notes about the intended use of the checklist. It's not intended to replace a sealed energy modeling report. As I'm sure you're aware, any engineers or architects practicing energy modeling in BC need to follow the whole building professional practice guidelines that are issued jointly by the two regulatory bodies that govern those professions. And because that report is required to be sealed, this checklist is not. This is just intended to be a summary of the information in that report. And so for that reason, we're suggesting to a lot of practitioners that you can actually append this checklist to any energy model report that uses this methodology, which is a nice way of succinctly and clearly summarizing the information in a long report. The checklist is optional for AHJs to adopt, although it is recommended, and we'll share a couple of reasons why on the next slides. And again, we are suggesting that even if a practitioner is working for a jurisdiction who doesn't require the checklist, consider adding it and sending it in with a permit submission, or as mentioned earlier, as an appendix to a report. So when we were preparing this presentation, we reached out to several local jurisdictions who are using the report and asked them why. The general themes that we heard was the benefits of consistent reporting throughout the province, quick reviews, and easily verifying key inputs were reasons to consider adopting. We were also able to obtain a few quotes. The Township of Langley shared that the checklist is simpler than an energy modeling report, and it provides many inputs needed for building permit review. It also helps them track performance indicators and inform policy development. And the City of Vancouver shared that they will be looking to update their energy emissions design report to incorporate some of the new functionality and graphics that were added in this version of the checklist. So just an intro to a few of those functionalities and some formatting. When we open the tool, you'll see that the input cells are yellow. They're generally open-ended, although there are a few with drop-down menus and auto-populates that allow the users to override them. Much of the checklist is also locked. Sometimes this is simply because there's headers there. Also, the results are calculated for you. However, there is a way to unlock it if you need to for some reason, and we'll show you how to do that in a moment. And then a few tips to be familiar with before you open the checklist. We've included a number of notes. So any cell that has this red triangle, if you hover your mouse over it, a little note will pop up like that yellow box. And we were asked to provide a lot more of those in this latest version to give people a little bit more instructions along the way as you're completing the checklist. And just a little tip, if the note is too small, just zoom in and that should help expand things for you. As I mentioned before, the workbook is locked, but you can unlock it just by going up to the review tab and hitting unprotect workbook. There's no password. However, we would suggest that if you're doing that for any reason, do go back and lock it again, just so you don't accidentally change any of the formulas. And finally, we wanted to suggest that everybody check out the user guide, especially if you're new to the checklist and you're trying to understand what the intent is of some of the information. There's a cell-by-cell instruction guide in there that will explain what each cell is for and how to complete it.